What's going on, everybody? Jammers here, back with another Street Fighter V video, and this video here is a continuation video in the matchup breakdown series where I discuss some important points regarding all of Mika's matchups in Street Fighter V. Now, from the feedback I got from the previous video, you guys want me to mix things up a little bit, so that's exactly what I'm going to be doing from now on. So we've gone over 16 characters so far, all of which you can find on my YouTube channel, but for our next video, which will be kicking things off for the DLC characters, let us take a look at how a 7-colored bomber fares against the ostentatious Ice Queen, Kolin. So to start things off, we will be covering something which is pretty standard at this point, and that is how Kolin goes about punishing Dropkick. The first answer you are seeing here is Kolin's standing hard punch. Standing hard punch is the crush counter option Kolin can use, in which when it connects, leaves Mika in an airborne spinning state. Now the follow-ups from the standing hard punch are pretty simple. Since standing hard punch is special cancelable, Kolin can go into the heavy version of her Parabellum to score a knockdown. If she wants more damage, then she can go into the EX version of Parabellum and then go into EX Silver Edge. This costs 2 bars, which is quite expensive. However, if Kolin has critical art available, then she can cancel into it from the heavy version of Parabellum and net herself just under 400 damage. You rarely see this option, but it's still a legitimate one. The next option you are seeing here is Kolin's V skill, Inside Slash. Now the V skill is the best answer against the dropkick in my personal opinion, due to it literally countering the move. Kolin can do this on reaction, but more importantly, scores her a knockdown and builds V meter. What's also great about the V skill is if Mika tries to do the fake dropkick, then it will hit that as well. Kolin can't get a follow-up, but she'll be left at some sort of frame advantage. The final solution Kolin has against Mika's dropkick is none other than her counter, Frost Touch. Frost Touch is the most damaging option Kolin has, but not only that, once it connects, causes a hard knockdown. Kolin has to use the heavy version of the counter since Mika is airborne when using dropkick. Now if Kolin uses the EX version of Frost Touch, then instead of doing 180 damage, it will now inflict a monstrous 240 damage. Oh, did I forget it mentions that it still causes a hard knockdown, allowing for a setup? Crazy, right? Kolin does have to be careful with this option though, as if Mika does the fake dropkick, then she will recover before Kolin and will be able to severely punish her for the attempt. Overall, Kolin has some solid yet deterring answers to the dropkick. I mean, because they're essentially counters. The first 2 solutions are pretty reliable, whilst the final one comes at a risk. Either way, Kolin has this part of the matchup completely covered. The second topic I will be discussing will always be a follow-up to the previous segment, and that is how Kolin goes about anti-airing Mika. The first answer you are seeing here is Kolin's crouching hard punch. Crouching hard punch is Kolin's normal attack anti-air, which needs to be done at a relatively close angle for it to be consistent. It has a great upwards hitbox though. But unfortunately for Kolin, crouching hard punch can lose to dive bomb. So if Kolin relies on this option too much, then she can expect the body splash to beat it. The next anti-air option Kolin can use is one you saw earlier, and that is her counter, Frost Touch. The heavy version of Frost Touch is a pretty punishing solution when it comes to aerial options, and Mika's jump-ins are no exception. Again, the counter does 180 damage and scores Kolin a hard knockdown, so it's nothing to sleep on. And if you use the EX version, then Kolin will again inflict a tremendous amount of damage. What's also good about the counter is that it can punish Mika's dive bomb, pretty much covering this aspect of the matchup entirely. What Mika can do to combat this is by going for an empty jump. That way she can get a full punish on Kolin once she has landed. But if that happens, then Kolin can revert back to using crouch hard punch as the anti-air. It's a basic but scary mind game in this situation. The final option Kolin may consider to anti-air Mika is by using her air throw. Now you normally see Kolin use her air throw to end certain combos, but in this situation it has its uses. Nets her 120 damage and leaves her relatively close to the opponent. What's also helpful about the air throw is that it can stop dive bomb, as Kolin is technically meeting Mika in the air, making the body splash completely irrelevant. Kolin's anti-air options against Mika are fantastic, but she has to be relatively close for them to work. As long as Kolin has the Frost Touch option, then Mika is always at a risk of taking damage when she jumps. Moving on to the third section, which is something that is quite important when it comes to the Kolin matchup, and that is how Mika goes about dealing with Kolin's Hailstorms. Hailstorm is an unorthodox projectile, as it can't be used in the traditional sense, but it's extremely useful when it comes to set play, as it gets the opponent to solely focus on it. Now if Kolin arbitrarily does a Hailstorm from full screen, then Mika can actually use her EX Shooting Peach to punish. She has to forward dash and then input the move to catch Kolin. If Mika is too far away, then what can happen is either the EX Peach will trade with the Hailstorm, or Kolin will be able to block in time and be able to punish the EX Shooting Peach. The hitbox hurtbox interaction is really weird in this scenario. The other Hailstorm situation you should consider is if Kolin cancels into the EX version of Hailstorm from a button. On block, EX Hailstorm is -8, meaning Mika can get quite a few punishes against Kolin. A simple solution would be to use EX Shooting Peach. It has 5 frames of startup, meaning you have plenty of time to punish, and it scores a knockdown, so it's a win-win situation. Now the other way you can punish it is by doing standing hard punch into heavy Shooting Peach. This punish is a little tighter than the previous one, but the reward is pretty good, not to mention it's meterless. But Mika can net more damage depending on her resources, using V-Trigger 1, EX Shooting Peach, or even Critical Art. One final way Mika can go about punishing the EX Hailstorm is by actually using her command throws. Brimstone can be used to gain the momentum, as it will take Kolin closer to the corner, whilst Rainbow Typhoon is for landing the big damage. But for the most part, you won't need to use this grab in this scenario unless it's going to kill or stun Kolin. The same punishes apply to if Kolin tries to do this when she is in V-Trigger 2. Yes, the icicles are bigger, but the punishes are still the same. The fourth point being mentioned is another thing that is imperative when it comes to the Kolin matchup, and that is how the mid version of Frost Touch affects Mika. For those of you that don't know, Kolin's counter plays a huge role in her matchups in terms of the psychological aspect. It does a ton of damage and makes the opponent think twice about how to approach Kolin, and in this matchup, it happens in quite a few situations. The first situation you might have seen the counter be used in is the meaty standing medium kick situation. Now if Kolin goes for a wake up crouching light punch, which is her fastest button, in this scenario then it will lose to the meaty standing medium kick. This is for normal recovery and back recovery. However, to counter this, Kolin can wake up with her Frost Touch and get the side switch. This works because the standing medium kick connects as a mid. But if Mika feels Kolin is going to wake up with the counter, then she can go for a throw, whether it be a regular one or a command throw, as throws can beat the counter. But when you go for that throw, Kolin might decide to wake up backdash or neutral jump to avoid getting thrown. And this is where a real mind game is on our hands, and at that point it becomes a straight guess. Another situation where the counter is a real threat is if Mika lands a Brimstone in the corner. After landing a Brimstone in the corner, Mika has a plethora of meaty setups she can do to help keep the momentum on her side, all of which beat Kolin's wake up buttons. But again, if Kolin decides to wake up and use the counter, then not only does Mika lose momentum, but Kolin gains the positional advantage from the side switch, which is beneficial for Kolin and detrimental for Mika. But if Mika decides to go for a meaty throw, then she will beat the counter and still maintain offense, which is always a big deal for her. But again, Mika needs to be wary of a backdash or even a forward jump from Kolin, as she will try to escape those throws. One final example to show you guys is the knockdown situation after EX Shooting Peach. The Oki Mika gets from the EX Peach knockdown is pretty weak, but if Kolin decides to wake up with buttons, then Mika can net some decent damage. Mika will do the counter hit confirmed from the crouching light punch. But let us not forget that crouching light punch is a mid attack, so if Kolin takes that risk and uses the counter, then she will probably net more damage than what Mika intended to get. Now if Mika planned to go for a throw in this situation, then in actual fact they won't work. Mika has +1 frame advantage after the forward dash from EX Peach, and her throws have 5 frame startup. So Kolin waking up with her 3 frame crouching light punch will stuff any throw Mika attempts, and she gets a counter hit combo afterwards. If Mika tries to do a crouching light kick to avoid the mid version of Frost Touch and Kolin does crouching light punch, then it will result in a trade, which the trade is actually in Kolin's favour, but only slightly. So all in all, the risk reward of this situation is heavily in Kolin's favour. Just to reiterate, Kolin's mid counter plays a huge role in this matchup, probably one of the deciding factors of it. And by showcasing these examples here, you guys can see how much the counter can actually deter Mika from playing her game. The fifth and final point I want to mention for this video will be shifting over to the V-Trigger side of things, and that is what Kolin can do once she has Absolute Zero, her V-Trigger 2, available. Absolute Zero was introduced in Season 3 of Street Fighter V. along with a whole bunch of other V-triggers, in which it completely reinvented Kolin as a character, gave her a comeback factor, and is a much more flexible V-trigger than Diamond Dust, her V-trigger 1. So when Kolin has V-trigger 2 at the ready, Mika should try not to dropkick. Sounds simple, I know. If she attempts the fully charged version, then Kolin can use her V-trigger to freeze time and guarantee a counter. This can be done pretty last minute and is something she couldn't do with V-trigger 1. Another thing Mika needs to be careful doing is jumping. If Mika goes for a jump attack, then again, Kolin can use the V-trigger to slow down time and anti-air Mika properly. Mika can try to mix things up with an empty jump, but Kolin might counter with a crouching hard punch. Or if she's audacious enough, then she will go for an air throw. It's a mix up at the end of the day, and freezing time just makes things easier for Kolin. The third thing Mika shouldn't do is use her V skill from far away. If she attempts this, Kolin can just activate and use the ice dash to close the gap and punish Mika, whether it be through light attacks or a target combo, and depending on Kolin's resources can inflict an abundance of damage. So yeah, if you talk smack, then you're probably going to get ice thrown in your face. The examples shown here are just some of the few things Mika should not do in the neutral when Kolin has V-trigger 2 at the ready. Mika's options become severely limited in this situation, while Kolin gets more time to think and control the game. And that's pretty much it for the video, people. Hopefully by watching this, you now understand the Mika-Kolin matchup a little better than you did before. In my personal opinion, I think Kolin wins this matchup. Her counters can tackle Mika's comfortable approaches really well, despite coming at a risk, and the mid version of her Frost Touch really limits Mika's offensive options because Mika's potent meaties are done using mids and throws can be easily avoided. Every time Kolin is knocked down, it's a guess for both characters. Head into training mode and lab Kolin's defensive options, as all of them are susceptible to throws, so you may get a chance to land a few. Have a mess around with Kolin as a character herself, what her buttons are like and how her V-trigger 2 works, as you are definitely going to come across that. Also look into what situations you think Kolin might go for her Frost Touch counter, as doing so will help you understand the situations better and know when and when not to take a risk. Let me know how you felt about the video in the comments below. Was the information helpful? Did I miss out something you felt I should have put in the video? All feedback is greatly appreciated. If you enjoyed the video and have not subscribed to the channel, then why not subscribe? If not, thanks for watching anyway. I'll also leave my other social media outlets in the description below if you want to follow me on those as well. I've made a playlist for these matchup breakdown videos now, so the link to that will be in the description below as well. This has been your boy HC Jammers, and I'll see you guys on the next video. So until then, take care and enjoy the rest of your day.